Hi friends, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing the first quarterly wrap-up of 2025. So I'm going to be talking about every book that I have read from January through March and give you my thoughts on them. Now some of these books you already know my thoughts on them because they were in other videos. And for those books I'll keep my reviews nice and concise because if you've watched my videos then you already know what I think about them. So I'm going to go in order from January with the first book that I read all the way through what my last read was. So grab a fun drink, get cozy, and let's get started. Now, I hadn't really thought about how good of a reading year I had had until I started collecting the books for this video, and I realized that most of the books that are on display on my shelf outwardly facing are books that I've read this year and I really love. So we're off to a really great start for my reading year so far, and that just makes me so happy. Now, the first book that I read for this year was a book for my alphabet challenge video, my first one, and that is Butter by Asako Yagasuki. This is a translated Japanese fiction book about a journalist who is trying to get an interview with a serial killer who kills her victims through her food, but she's also a foodie, so she eats these really lavish meals and she has like such a refined palate, and so these men fall for her because of her really good cooking, and then for some reason she ends up killing them. And all in all, I did enjoy this book. Now this is one of two Japanese translated fiction books that I've owned, so it took a little bit of getting used to the different style of writing. It was a really unique premise. Honestly, I feel like this is one of the most unique books that I have read this year, if not the most unique book that I have read this year, and it's definitely one of my favorite covers. I absolutely adore this cover. There's a new cover and it's not near as cool as this one. I love this one with the stick of butter on the side and the cow and the bloody fingerprints. I just think that this is just the coolest cover ever. I gave this book 4 stars, and I think I would recommend it if you are into literary fiction. As much as this book is like about a serial killer and murder and like trying to figure out some of that stuff, it is at its heart a literary fiction, and I personally wish that it was a little bit more on the mystery side. Like we got to solve some things along the way and not just a journalistic kind of feel to it. I think it would have been really fun as a mystery, but I did enjoy my time even though I wanted a little bit more mystery in it, and that has nothing to do with the writing. That just has to do with my personal preference, and so I gave it 4 stars. The second book I read was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Now this is a young adult fantasy series about a girl who was raised by fairies, and her sisters all grew up in this fairy court. It's just a little magical world that's filled with danger. There's some sort of like heist that's going on, and she makes deals that maybe she shouldn't have made, and she also hatches a scheme of her own. It's a fun time. It's definitely not my favorite fantasy ever, and it's definitely not my favorite fae fantasy that I've ever read, but it was fun and I am going to continue the series. I gave that one a 3.5 stars. It was good. It was fun while I was in it, but honestly I don't think about it that much. It's not at the top of my favorite fantasy list, but I would recommend it if you like fantasy, specifically fantasy that has fairies in it, and not fairies like Tinkerbell, like fairies as in fae. Then I read one of my favorite romances probably ever, and that is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is such a cute book. This is such a cute story. I highly recommend this book to everyone. This is about a girl named Clementine, and her aunt dies and leaves her apartment, and apparently this apartment can take you 7 years in the past, but it only does it whenever it pleases. And so one day she comes home and she finds a strange man in her apartment, and she can't get back to her own time yet. They get to know each other and eventually they fall in love, and it's such a cute story. I love this book so much. I devoured this book almost in one night. I gave this one a 4.5 stars, but looking back I'd probably give it a 4.75 because I think about this book a lot and I recommend this book to people all the time. There's a reason why it is so popular. Next, I jumped into a fantasy, specifically a new fantasy series, and that is The Will of the Many. It is the first book in the Hierarchy series by James Islington. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce his name, but I think it's Islington. This book is so good. Like, the world building broke my brain a little bit. It's a lot to keep up with. This is a little bit more on the epic side of fantasy, though it also kind of gives like little hints of sci-fi, at least in my opinion. And this story is about Viz. He is an orphan, and in this society, their form of magic is actually will, so like a person's will. They're in a society that is called the hierarchy, and Viz gets adopted by someone who wants to send him to the academy to investigate the murder of his brother. So it's kind of a high stakes story, and it's so well written. I absolutely love this book. It's so intense, and like the ending of this book like completely broke my brain. Like when this book ended, I just kind of stared at a wall and had to process what I had just read, and I had to go back and relive what happened and try to figure out how that matches up with the epilogue of this book. It is so good. I'm so excited for the next book to come out, which I think it comes out in November, and I absolutely cannot wait. I will be buying that book immediately. It is so good. How many times can I say it was so good before you go and pick it up? I've heard that it's compared with Brandon Sanderson's writing, so if you're someone who likes Brandon Sanderson, you might want to look into this book as well. It also gave me some Red Rising vibes, so if you like Red Rising, then you can listen to this book as well. Yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I gave it a 4.5 stars. Then my nonfiction read for the month was Alan Turing the Enigma. This was my book 4A, and I've kind of already given you guys my thoughts on this, so I'll keep it really brief. This is a very long book, as you can see. It might be one of the longest books that I read all year because it's over 700 pages. Actually, I might be in a book now that's longer than that. Anyway, this is the book that inspired the movie The Imitation Game, and honestly, just watch the movie. There's no need to read this book. I felt like this was the worst written, most boring biography I've ever read in my entire life. I gave it a 2.5 or 2.75 stars. I don't remember. Well, let's just say it was a 2.5 star. I just don't think it was worth it. Watch the movie. The movie's really, really good. I think it's worth a skip if you like biographies, and that's all I'll say about that. And then the last book that I read in January was Persuasion by Jane Austen. This is my absolutely beautiful Chiltern collection book. This is the style of classic that I am currently collecting. It has the golden pages, really thick, really shiny pages on the inside. I absolutely love these editions. I think they're gorgeous. That's beside the point. I just wanted to show off this beautiful book because I think it's worth showing off because it's one of my favorite copies. I gave Persuasion a 4-star. It wasn't my favorite. Honestly, I think I gave Emma a like 3.75 or something like that, but that book has stuck with me more than Pride and Prejudice and more than Persuasion. So I actually think that Emma is my favorite Jane Austen book so far, which is kind of funny because I was so annoyed with her while I was actively reading it, but it stuck with me the longest, so that's really funny. But Persuasion is about this girl named Anne, and she is not very well loved by her family. She's seen as plain and boring and a little bit unimportant in her father and her sister's eyes. And when she was young, she was in love with this guy, and her family did not approve, and they talked her out of it. And then many years later, they find each other and they reconnect, and it's the story of their reconnection. And yeah, that was my first classic of the year. That is every book that I read in January, which is a total of, I think, 7 books. Now, in order to meet my reading goal for the year, I have to read 8 books a month. So I started off the year a little bit behind, which was not ideal, but I made up for it in February because this is my February stack. Ta-da! And this is not even all of them because I read a couple on my Kindle as well. So let's talk about each one of them. First off, for my 24-hour reading vlog, which you can go back and watch in my past videos, I read Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the 3rd book in the Empyrean series, and I absolutely adore this series. I feel like it's really split. Like, so many people loved Fourth Wing, but as the series has gone on, there's a really big divide on people who like this series and people who really, really dislike it. I am on the side that absolutely loves this series. I think her plotting is incredible. It may not be like the most intricate world building I've ever seen, but her plotting is so good. I really enjoyed this one. I don't always like the main characters in this story, but that doesn't mean that it's not a very good story. And there were so many times in this book where I was laughing or crying, but I gave this one 5 stars. Absolutely love it. And it's my only book in the world that has sprayed edges with the design on them, so I love that aspect as well. Next in the 24-hour reading vlog, I read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is the first book in the Part of Your World series. I gave this one a 4.2 stars. It was definitely not my favorite. I feel like their emotional connection was maybe not as deep as some of her newer books, and also it happened a little quicker than some of her newer books, and those are just two things in romance that really kind of get to me. Like, I don't love them. And I think the fact that their relationship base was mostly on physical attraction and not necessarily emotional connection also bothered me a little bit, but that doesn't mean that I didn't like it. Obviously I did, because I gave it 4.25 stars. Anything by Abby Jimenez I do really like. I would definitely recommend Yours Truly and Just for the Summer by her. They're absolutely incredible. They have a lot of depth. You can tell as she continues in her writing journey that her books just get deeper and more complex, and I really enjoy that about her books. So that is Part of Your World. Next, and then lastly in the readathon, one of my most disappointing books of the year, and that is Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. This is the second book in the To Kill a Mockingbird series, and honestly this book did not have to be written. Now, To Kill a Mockingbird is definitely not my favorite classic of all time, but Go Set a Watchman is completely unnecessary, and we spent most of the book flashing back to her childhood, almost like in the most random instances. It's almost like she had a vague plot for this book, but she didn't have enough content to actually make that plot, so she kept writing in flashbacks that didn't necessarily have anything to do with the plot at all. They were just flashbacks for the sake of flashback and to give the characters a little bit more backstory, I guess. I just felt like this was a story that was not fully fleshed out when it was written, and it could have been a lot better. I don't recommend. Just read To Kill a Mockingbird if you want to and leave it at that. This is not worth it. I gave this one a 2.5 stars. Next, I read The Inheritance Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first book in the Inheritance Game trilogy. I gave this book a 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. This is a young adult mystery series. I think that I just have a hard time with mysteries sometimes. I don't always rate them super highly, kind of like thrillers. Like, I really like the idea of them and I really like the actual mystery of them, but I don't always rate them highly, which is kind of funny because I'm actually really drawn to mystery books. I don't know. Anyway, this follows a girl who was really struggling in life. She was living in her car, and then this billionaire dies and gives all of his inheritance money to her. So she becomes a billionaire overnight, and there's a mystery involved, and her and the grandsons try to figure out why it was her that got the inheritance, if it was random or if there was a specific reason why she got it and none of the family members got any of the money. And so it's them trying to figure out this mystery, and it's just really fun. Jennifer Lynn Barnes has really short chapters, so you feel like you're absolutely blowing through the books because the chapters are only like 5 or 6 pages long. That is The Inheritance Games. So I will be continuing this series. Okay, we're to the good stuff now. I love this book so much. This is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I love this book so much. I love this series so much. This is a romantasy series, and it is so good. It is about a girl named Diem, and she is a mortal, and in this world it's kind of separated out between those who have descended from the gods and then those who are just mortal humans. And she is a mortal, and the descended have ruled over them, and the mortals have been oppressed for many years. And she's a healer, so she goes around and she loves her job and she takes care of people and she tries to bring them back to health. But then one day her mother's disappears, and that kind of sends a cascade of these crazy life-altering things that happen in her life, and so many secrets start to come out, and she starts to wonder if she really knew her mother at all, if the life that she knows is even real at all. This is so good. This is so good. If you like romantasy at all, you need to read Spark of the Everflame. It is slow burn, and it is not spice free, but it is very minimal spice, and it is not graphic at all. I listened to this on audiobook, and I read this one and the next one in the course of like a week, because I was just completely enthralled with it. I absolutely love this series. Please read it. I've already done a whole video on it, so if you want to see a more in-depth review of me freaking out about this series, go watch the 5-minute book review of Spark of the Everflame. You'll see this cover on the thumbnail. I'm currently on the 3rd book in the series, and I missed this world so much, and it's only been a month. This was 5 stars, if you couldn't tell. And then next, of course, we have Glow of the Everflame, which is the 2nd book in the series. series. This book is much longer than Spark of the Everflame. I mean, just look at the difference in that. And the book that I'm reading now, Heat of the Everflame, is even more chunky than this. It's like close to 700 pages. It's really, really long, and I'm enjoying every single second of it. Again, with this is a slow burn romance. It is a romantasy, and there's things that happen in the first book, and she's trying to reconcile all those things and try to adjust to all those things in this book. And that's pretty much all I can say, because anything else is going to be a spoiler. This was also 5 stars. No surprise. Moving on. Next, I read The Dictionary of Lost Words by Pip Williams. I did not really love this book that much. I gave it a 3 stars because I was intrigued to see what happened at the end, but that was kind of disappointing too. I kind of wish that I had DNF'd it, but I don't DNF book pretty much ever. So I was kind of determined to get through it. Hi! So this is the book that I read for D in the alphabet challenge video. This book kind of put me in a little bit of a slump, but it didn't matter too much because Glow of the Everflame came and saved me and knocked me out of that book slump so quickly. 3 stars right on the nose. Or 2.75. I don't remember. Go back and watch the video. I didn't put it in my note. Then we have another book that I love so much, and you already know because I've raved about it multiple times on this channel already, and that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was a reread. I initially read it in December, and now I read it again in February on audiobook, and I love this book so much. This is my favorite romance of all time. I definitely think it is worth your time. I love Miles and Daphne so much. I love Emily Henry's writing in this book so much. I love the premise of the story so much. 6 stars. That's all I'm gonna say. You've already heard me rant about that many times. Next, I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Sinter. Now, this book kind of surprised me because I haven't always loved Catherine Sinter's book, but I ended up giving this one a 4.25 stars, which I think is the highest rating of a Catherine Sinter book ever. This is about a girl who has an accident and she has to have brain surgery, and when she wakes up from brain surgery, she has face blindness, which is really unfortunate because she is a portrait artist, and it is about the story of her falling in love with someone, but she doesn't even know his face, and it's the story of them falling in love and her figuring out how to live life with face blindness and what that means. But it's really cute. I really enjoyed it. And then, okay, I love this book. This is another book that was on display. I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars, and this is a book that I absolutely cannot stop thinking about. Like, the further I get away from this book, the more I love it, and the more I wish that I could go back and read it again for the first time. Now, there are 2 other books in the series, so my journey with Emily and Wendell is not done yet, and I'm so happy that I read it because I've kind of been procrastinating on this one for a while. So it was really nice not only to read it, but to read it and love it. So this is a story about a girl named Emily, and she is a researcher of fairies, and she wants to complete her encyclopedia, obviously. So she goes to this really remote island that is right outside the Arctic Circle, and she does research on the fairies that lives there, and one of her academic rivals, shall we say, follows her there. They just get into a whole bunch of mischief, and it's just so fun. It's so cozy. I also read this one for the Alphabet Challenge video, so you can go back and watch that one if you would like. Oh, my battery's about to die. Hopefully it won't die on me. It is plugged in. For my nonfiction, in February, I read Dolly by Dolly Parton. This is her 1995 memoir. I think she has multiple for some reason. When I tell you that it literally sounds like this woman just spoke into one of those transcription microphones and just spoke out every word of her story, and it ended up on paper, like that is exactly what it sounds like. She writes exactly how she talks, and it's adorable. It's so classic Dolly. Like, she doesn't change for any reason at all, not even to write a book. And yeah, it was really interesting reading about her life, her personality, and what makes her her, and her history, and how it formed her and shaped her. And so there's that one. All right, that is every book for February, which means we only have March left. Now, you guys have already seen most of these. We will keep it brief. First up, I read Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is the first of several Emily Henry books that I read this month, and I gave this one like a 3.5 stars. Like, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. It was fine. This was her first adult romance, as you guys know from my last video. I talked about this one in depth in my last video, so I'm not going to go into it very much, but I did give it 3.5 stars. I do think if you like romance that you should read some Emily Henry, though of course I recommend Funny Story over Beach Read. It was still pretty good. Then I read Book Lovers, and I gave this one a 3.75 star. I love Charlie and Nora's relationship in this book. It was just kind of to the point and a little bit refreshing. Like, there wasn't really much fluff in their relationship, and there didn't need to be, and that was kind of cool to see. And then the last book in my Emily Henry run was Happy Place. This was my favorite at a 4.25 stars. Does she remember? No. 4.5. I gave this one a 4.5 stars, and I really love it. I would definitely recommend this book to you out of all of Emily Henry's catalog. This is a story about Win and Harriet and them pretending to still be together at their friend's annual vacation, even though they have broken up. It's really fun. Made me laugh, made me cry. More details in that Emily Henry video if you haven't seen it. I'm not gonna recap too much. You don't need that. You've already watched the video, I'm sure. Then I finally finished a book that has been on my TBR for a while, and that is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This book was really good. I went into this book honestly thinking that it was going to be a 5-star, not necessarily because of hype, but because in the first couple chapters I was completely entranced with her writing and I loved it so much. But as I went along, I kind of found that that style of writing, although absolutely beautiful, got a little bit old for me, but the story itself was really, really cool. I've never read a story that has like this kind of premise to it. This is a story about Aphrodite, who is on trial for cheating on her husband, and she gives stories of love as justification for her cheating on her husband. It's beautifully, beautifully written. I really do like this. It's fantasy because it has gods and goddesses in it, but it's actually historical fiction. It's a very unique premise. I thought it was really cool. I gave this one a 4.25 star. Then I started another Jennifer Lynn Barnes series, kind of out of the blue, and that is The Natural. And in this book, teens with special abilities like profiling, reading emotions, etc. are hired by the FBI to help them solve cold cases, and it is the story of their newest recruit in that, and it is also a mystery, and you get to see her adjust to this new life that she is in and solve this really big mystery, and it's a good time. Again, it's Jennifer Lynn Barnes, so the chapters move really, really fast because they're not very long, and she definitely keeps you on your toes. She always gives you an ending that you do not expect. That is The Naturals. I gave this one 3.75 stars. Again, for some reason, I just don't really rate mysteries very highly, but that doesn't mean that I don't recommend them. Then my nonfiction book for March was The Familiar Stranger by Tyler Staton. I love all of Tyler Staton's books. I would recommend all of them, but especially Praying Like Monks, Living Like Fools, as I have mentioned several times over. But I really did like this book. As you can see, I tabbed it up quite a bit. So I gave this one a 4.5 star. Again, I just love the way that Tyler phrases things. He takes concepts that I've been learning about my whole life and phrases them in a way that it clicks in my brain, or I have a new perspective on them. And so I really, really enjoy that about his book. So that is that one. And then the last two, I'm just going to jump in really, really quickly and mention, though I'm not going to give you my ratings on them because they are for another video that has not come out yet. But that is Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I think I liked this one better than the first one, but I will give you more details and my final rating on it in that video. And then I also read Happiness for Beginners by Catherine Center. I was expecting to enjoy this book a little bit more because I really liked Hello Stranger a lot. And again, I'm not going to give you my rating, but it is Grumpy Sunshine, and I just don't think that's my thing, and so I didn't like this one as much as I liked Hello Stranger, but that is okay. And that is it. That is every book that I have read in the year 2025 so far in the first quarter of this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you made it to the end of this video and you don't know what to comment either any book that you are in the middle of right now or any purple emoji for Easter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.